Hello, welcome in WeCare Nursing tutorial. Today we are going to discuss about the cell present in human body. In our previous video we have already discussed about the general concept of cell. So this video is exclusively about the cell present in human body. As we know that our body is a complex structure and it contains trillions of cells, which can be categorized into more than 200 types of cells. Here in this short tutorial we will discuss about the cells which are present in our curriculum. So let's get started. Type of cell present in human body. We have divided the cells into 5 main types. Number 1, stem cell. Number 2, blood cells. And under this category we will discuss about red blood cell, white blood cells and platelets. Number 3, we will discuss about the cell present in our skin, muscles and bone. Number 4, we will discuss about the cells of our nervous system. Number 5, we will discuss about the cells of reproductive system. Stem cell. Stem cell is a basic of each cell. Before a cell becomes specific, it first starts as a stem cell. The stem cells are pluripotent in nature. This property of these cells is known as cell differentiation. It means that these cells have the potential to become any type of specific cell in the body. Without stem cell, our body is unable to produce complex cell. The stem cells have the ability to divide and replicate themselves for a long period of time. Stem cells are unspecialized. That's why the anatomy of these cells are similar to a simple cell. These cells have a cell membrane, cytoplasm, and contain nucleus, mitochondria, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, and lysosome. The nucleus of these cells contain DNA and RNA, which are expressed when differentiation occurs in the cell. Stem cell can be divided into 2 types. Number 1, embryonic stem cell. These cells comes from embryos and normally used for research purposes in the laboratory. Number 2, somatic cell. Somatic or adult cells are present in the human body throughout the life cycle, and these cells exist in order to repair the specialized cell. Blood is responsible for transportation of oxygen and nutrients. It contains many types of cells. Among these, some are as follow. Number 1, red blood cells. Red blood cells are also known as erythrocytes. These are the most abundant type of the blood cell. They have biconcave disc shape. Their diameter is 6 to 8 micrometer and thickness is about 2 micrometer. The red blood cell has a molecule known as hemoglobin, which is responsible for the transportation of oxygen. White blood cells. White blood cells are also known as leukocytes. These cells are vital component of our immune system and work as army for the body. White blood cells can be divided into 5 types, which will be discussed later in this lecture. Platelets. Technically, platelets are fragments of cell rather than a true cell, but are vital in the coagulation of the blood. These cells have a surface protein which allows them to bind to the part of the damaged blood vessel. Types of white blood cells. Neutrophils. Neutrophils are the most abundant type of the white blood cells and make up about 65% of white blood cells. They originate in the bone marrow and circulate in the bloodstream. They enter in tissue and destroy damaging cells and bacteria through phagocytosis. Eosinophils. Eosinophils are also originate in the bone marrow and move into the bloodstream and destroy antigen-antibody using phagocytosis. Eosinophil releases the histamine and aryl sulfatase B, which are involved in the inflammatory response. Basophils. Basophils are the most least of the white blood cells and are involved in the body's defense against parasites. They accumulate at the infected area and release histamine and serotonin to increase the blood flow. Lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are involved in the adaptive immune response. Lymphocytes are divided into two types, which will be discussed later in this lecture. Monocytes. Monocytes has a large diameter as compared to other white blood cells. They enter in tissue and convert it to macrophages, which kill bacteria and other harmful cells. Types of lymphocytes. Lymphocytes can be divided into two types. Number 1, T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes mature in the thymus gland and involved in the destruction of bacteria, viruses, and other damaging cells such as cancer cell. B lymphocytes. B lymphocytes develop in plasma cell and are involved in the synthesis of antibodies which attack the foreign bodies. Cells present in our skin. Skin is an outer covering of the body. It has three layers. The first and the outermost layer, epidermis, contain the following cells. Number 1, keratinocytes. These cells are also known as basal cell and make up about 95% of epidermis. These cells protect the body by blocking toxins and pathogens and also prevent heat loss. Inflammatory response is also stimulated by these cells. Number 2, melanocytes. These cells produce a pigment known as melanin which determine our skin coloration. Langerhans cell. These cells act as an antigen processing cell in case of inflammation. But the exact function of Langerhans cell is miracle cell. These cells act as a mechanosensory cell and are involved in the touch reception. Endothelial cell. These cells form the lining of the blood vessels. They have flat structure and thickness is about 1 to 2 micrometer. These cells can migrate and adjust their numbers and arrangements with respect to body needs. Endothelial cells produce different surface protein depending on whether they are forming veins or arteries. Epithelial cell. Epithelial cells make up the lining of cavities in the body such as lungs, intestine, and stomach. They join to each other forming sheet called epithelia and are connected by a tight junction. Epithelial cells are closely related to nerve cells. They are also known as adipocytes, and these cells are specialized in store of energy. There are two types of the fat cell. Number 1, white cell. The fat inside these cells is mainly made up of triglyceride. Number 2, brown fat cell. The key role of the brown fat cell is to generate heat energy. Cells present in our muscle cells are also known as myocyte and have following types. Number 1, skeletal muscle cell. Skeletal muscle cells are responsible for voluntary movements. Along with other cell organelles, these cells also contain two proteins called troponin and tropomyosin which help in contraction of the muscle. Cardiac muscle cell. Cardiac muscle cells are also known as cardiomyocyte. These cells are interconnected with each other through gap junction. These cells are different in various parts of the heart and work together to form the function of heart. Smooth muscle cell. These cells are 10 to 600 micrometer long and involved in the involuntary movement of different organs like lungs, bladder, and blood vessels. Cartilage cell. These cells are also known as chondrocytes. Cartilage are found in joint between bones in ear, nose, and our airway. Bone cells. Bone cells are the cells which form the bone. There are four main types of the bone cells. Number 1, osteoclasts. These cells are large multinucleated cells which break down bone by forming sealed compartment on its surface and releasing enzymes and acids. Osteoblasts. These cells are involved in the generation of new bone. They synthesize a protein which forms the osteocytes. These cells are found inside the bone. Osteocytes can sense mechanical strain on the bone. These cells secrete growth factor which activate bone growth in response. Lining cell. This is the final type of the bone cell. These cells are responsible for the release of calcium from the bone into the bloodstream when it falls too low in the blood. Cells of nervous system. Nerve cell, commonly known as neuron, transmit information in the body. Typically, a nerve cell consists of 4 regions. Number 1, cell body. Number 2, dendrites. Number 3, axon. And number 4, axon terminal. Cells of our reproductive system. Reproduction is the result of the meets of 2 different types of cell called gametes. Male reproductive cell are also known as sperm cell, and female gametes are also known as eggs. When they meet together, a zygote is formed. Male reproductive system cell known as spermatozoa. The size of the spermatozoa is about 50 micrometer.
The size of spermatozoa is about 50 micrometer. It has a head region and a tail. The head of the cell contains a nucleus that is packed with DNA. The head region of the cell contains mitochondria, which help in the locomotion of cell. The female reproductive system cell is known as ova. Ova is a large as compared to other body cell. They are round in shape and are produced in the ovaries during the embryological development. During the process of fertilization, the spermatozoa binds with the ovum. If you have any question about the human body,